Hello, and welcome to another episode of Cut to It, the OR Nurse podcast, bringing you best evidence practice and having lively discussions every time we get together. I'm Dr. Rosemary Babo. I am a medical affairs, clinical education aficionado. Love it. Love getting the information out there and doing this podcast with my co-host.
Hi, Marianne Sanford here, registered nurse, OR nurse, also educator for clinical areas and also for medical device companies. So welcome. We're happy to have you here.
Speaking of medical device, that's our topic today. Every device has a story, and we're going to let you know how some of those products, not actual products, we're not going to go that deep into it, but we're just going to give you a really nice overview of how that device that you're using or that product that you're using comes to be. So, Marianne, do you want to start us off with some of the information?
Yeah, you know how you're in the operating room and you're using a device and you say, who designed this thing, right? Well, we're going to tell you.
And very, very good tone, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we've all been there, that's for sure. So there are quite a few phases to medical device development. They're pretty much all the same across the board. Every company uses it, every device company uses it. There are regulatory reasons for that. So the FDA, right, Food and Drug Administration, is the administration that regulates medical device design, development, use, the indication, what you can use it for and what's off label, what you're not supposed to use it for or don't have any evidence for. So all the medical device companies use the same pattern, the same pathway to getting a medical device together. So the first phase is, of course, research, right? We talk about research all the time on our podcast. There's even research here. It's a different kind of research, though. It has to do with customer interviews. So it also has to do with the company saying, hey, we think there's a need here. Let's go out to the customer and see if that's actually a need and what that need looks like. Like, what problem does it solve for the customer? Very important design process. A lot of time gets spent here. A lot of the for the company is this feasible for us to make? If we could find a magic device, is it feasible for us to make, manufacture, and make money from? Right? Obviously, that's the issue. So customer interviews are critical. Then we get in the development phase. And this is really, as they say, where the rubber meets the road.
Let me stop you for 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
Because I think this is important for nurses. So that's one part of it. The company thinking, hey, is there a market for this product or device? There are also customer interviews that the people, the companies do, or you can even, send an email and try to get it forwarded through the company. And I've had that. I've worked with people. Oftentimes, medical affairs people are great people to get this facilitation started. Hey, I have this idea. Is this something that we can partner with? So there's two sides, the company interviewing customers to see and also customers presenting ideas to the company.
Excellent. I'm glad you popped that in there. That's really critical. I absolutely agree. And some of the best ideas we get are from people that just say, hey, I have an idea. So I agree. So development phase. Yeah. Development phase is where we start to design an actual device. There's many, many, many iterations of designing a device. They sometimes it's done internally with the company itself. Sometimes it's done with a third-party vendor. That's like what they call a design house. There's many, many different ways that a product can be designed. And then once it's designed, the company will hold feasibility studies. And feasibility is, again, all these steps are important, but it's a really important step because it has to do with the customer again. This is customer opinion. It's also market research. So it helps the company kind of understand the larger picture of where this product might fit in or the larger need that needs to be answered. Feasibility involves asking the customers, does this product truly solve a need? Or is it sort of fluff or meaningless or something? And would this particular product really solve that need as it is in what we're showing you today? And then we look for opinions on what they think. A lot of them will say, well, I would prefer to have the packaging it comes in differently. And let me digress for just a second. Packaging is really important. It's also part of the design phase. it's packaging, it's how to ship it. It has to survive being shipped, right? We all see how packages are thrown around with different companies, right? So
Yeah.
we have to make sure that they can be shipped as well. That's also part of design. So
And
they
whether the
also add,
product will even get used, quite frankly, because I'm sorry, if it is an easier product to grab, it might even have better marketing, design, you grab it,
yeah,
and you may have a perfectly adequate, comparable product and really bland, packaging, and it gets overlooked. It's almost like in the
yeah.
grocery store, what catches your eye. Yeah, you can have two syringes. Which one are you going to grab? If they're both comparable. So this is why development and is there a need is so important. The feasibility part that Mary Ann's speaking about.
Yeah, and I was involved with several product developments in a former two former companies.
Mhm.
One of the things we talk about packaging is a laparoscopic instrument. So everyone knows you have to be able to hold that shell, that hard
Mhm.
plastic shell that most devices come
Yeah.
in, and peel back the pack. Well, people have left dexterity, right dexterity. So you have to think about that. You have to think about it's just fascinating. You have to think about the grip strength of that Tyvek peel because you don't want it to come flying off, but you also don't want to be struggling with it, right?
Right.
So there's so many things you ask the customer to weigh in on and provide an opinion. And then you would offer them different, like say different strengths of peel strength and all that for these and they would tell you pluses and minuses, which is super super critical. All
Mhm.
these little things that you don't think about when you're opening a package or using a product, all these things have been indeed thought about. They should be in the
They should
design
be,
and
but
development process.
and they do get overlooked. I'm going to be honest right now that there's been some product reviews that we've looked at. You can't even read.
Yeah,
It's so hard to see what you're actually the size that you're getting. Why is that? And we have a lot of people that, and it doesn't even matter necessarily the age, but let's face it, some people, they need reading glasses or whatever else. Do you really want to have somebody spending extra time in the supply room trying to find the right size? And that's
mhm.
something I really think people need to pay more attention to. Make it very obvious what size and what it is. Don't make people have to spend time trying to figure that out. That's
Yeah,
my
that's really
PSA.
very Ve very valid point. But if a company is doing and a design house are doing their true work, their due diligence, they are thinking about those things. They are thinking about what the customer would want, what would be helpful, what previous or competitive products are doing that may or may not have a good idea. So
Mhm.
that's all part of the feasibility, the feasibility stage. And feasibility is huge. It takes quite a while.
Yeah.
The next one is a hazard analysis. We think very long and hard in medical device development about how safe is this thing?
Mhm.
What could possibly happen, right? Could it fall off the table? Of course. Could it break? Of course. Not things like that, but could this wire get crossed with another wire and what would happen? Or what would happen to the device? What would happen to the patient? So there's so much thought that's put into hazard analysis as well. And then as we just talked about in a different episode, there's statistical analysis based on that to see what is statistically possible highest chance of a hazard versus the lowest. So a good hazard analysis is important, right?
Yeah.
And then we go to the fun parts, the verification and validation, right? Those are my favorite parts, quite frankly. I think Rosemary's too. Verification, we mock up the actual product very close to what we think it should be, right? It's
Yeah.
still a mock up. We haven't manufactured it yet. And what we're asking is the product designed to solve the need? Can someone actually use it to do what it's supposed to do?
And what are these
That is
called, Mary Ann?
the verification process. They're
The clinical
prototypes and all. I'm
trial.
sorry, I'm not sure what you mean. Yeah,
Oh,
say again.
clinical trials.
Oh,
That's right. Not there yet.
verification. Yeah, we're not there yet, but yes, clinical trial. It depends. If it's a medical device, you can get away with a clinical trial. It's not. She's right. It's not exactly a clinical trial like you're thinking about patients and that
Mhm.
taking a drug or whatever. Medical device is different because they're using a medical device. So what we do instead is we predetermine how many people we think we need to be able to show a positive effect, meaning they know how to use the device according to the instructions, right? And that's the
Sample
validation
size.
phase.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So verification is, can they use it the way we intended it to manufacture to solve the need?
Mhm.
And sometimes they can't. Like there was a device we're using, they just couldn't mix it correctly. So, okay, nope, we have to go back and redesign, right? And validation is, does the product do what it's meant to do? And can they follow instructions exactly as we give it to them to use the product correctly? That's a safety issue. And again, we're monitoring that very closely. But the validation is the fun part because you have a lot of people come in. It's a predetermined amount of people that come in. You teach them on the product. You know, Rosemary and I love educating people. We would teach them on it. And then we would give them the instructions and off they went. And you would be able to see the fruits of your labor. Does the product work? Can they follow the instructions? By the way, the instructions for a medical device are called an IFU, instructions for use. That's different than a drug, which is a package insert called a PI. So instructions for use, we all look at them. When you're really bored in a case, you might pull one out of a package and look at it, read it just because you're bored, right? So, but they're really helpful. They also tell you contraindications, warnings, all kinds of things. And I encourage you to take a look at one just because so many people spend a lot of time on that document too.
Well, and it's
Uh,
telling you how you're actually supposed to use it. And there's
right,
been numerous times that we've gone into facilities and we're like, you're not supposed to be doing it that way. And nobody's taught them. And thankfully, nothing's happened. You know, an adverse event has not happened, but it's
yeah,
not the way it's supposed to be used. And that's an issue. And it becomes an issue because something can happen depending on the device.
right. And people honestly, again, if a company's doing their due diligence and they have the right experts on board, right? Usually the experts include clinicians like ourselves, and they
Mhm.
may be outside clinicians, are thinking about, they call it a HAZOP, all the possibilities of things that can go wrong if the device is misused.
Yeah.
So hopefully they've thought of that. And all that information does get inserted into the instructions for use before the regulatory phase, right? And that's the next phase is the regulatory phase. We talk with regulatory like FDA. We present our instructions for use in the product and then they weigh in on it. You know, thumbs up with some changes, thumbs down, go back to the drawing board, which leads me to a story because you know I always have a story. There was a medical device that I was working on with the team of the development team.
Mhm.
I didn't like it. As a clinician, I thought this is not at all the way we should be going. I kind of think it's a little bit of a hazard inside. It was a laparoscopic instrument, and all my thought was, if they drop it, you know, from this is the skin and you know the abdominal wall, and they do this, it's going to fall with such force it could grab bowel and smash bowel. I mean, that's really what I was thinking. Uh, the team was pretty satisfied with the device, but then the team leader asked me my opinion, and I gulped and swallowed and took a deep breath and gave my opinion because the team thought that they were at the final phase that could go into verification. There was silence in the room, and the VP said, "Let's go back to the drawing board."
Hmm.
So
Good.
when we talk about, you know, who designed this, like who thought of this, there are a lot of people in the background that are thinking about this and trying to their absolute best to make sure a product is safe first and foremost, and of course the ways it could not be safe, but then making sure it works, right? But patient safety is paramount here, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, and then we go into once we get our thumbs up from the regulatory agency, we start manufacturing it. And again, they're testing quality all the time, make sure the specifications are what we wanted them to be. And we launch the product and then we watch what happens, right? That's the next part. We get customer feedback immediately. We make sure we're listening to the customer. And a lot of times you'll hear noise, right, Rosemary? You'll hear people say, this packaging is hard to open. It's cracked when I get to it and take it off the shelf. Or you might find a product that say it just doesn't, the cord doesn't stay connected the way we thought it would, right? Because there's so much variability in every facility. So customer
And
feedback is
companies,
really
yeah,
important.
it is very important. And they actually hire people. I had spent an entire year plus, I think, um, following a device that has was newly launched and going into the OR and listening to all the feedback and helping guide the surgeon into what to do in this situation, how to use it. As he trained, it became more familiar with it, and it was a full-time job, and that's all I did was travel around anytime there were cases. It didn't matter what time of day. Luckily, this device generally was used during the day. I had some late nights just because of patient load, but
Yeah.
it wasn't an overnight situation. But yeah, that was my sole job. It was to go around and answer questions and deliver the information back. And that device luckily got through the FDA rather quickly with any little adjustments they had to make. And they very much took seriously the feedback that they gained from the field.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned time frame because, by the way, this time frame is years.
Mhm.
It's not months. It's quite a long process, and that customer feedback you get after launch, improvements or redesign take a while. So you
Yeah,
might have a device that you're not thrilled with, but then all of a sudden there's an updated version or a version 2.0.
yeah.
And again, they follow the same steps that we just outlined all the way through again. It might be faster because it's not a build from the ground up, but all those next generations are again based on customer feedback, engineering review, quality review, et cetera. But it doesn't happen overnight. So if you get a device that's torturing you, find your rep. Make sure you
Yep.
tell them. Call medical affairs. Shout from the rooftops. Hey, this isn't working, and why? And it helps the company really do a better job at fixing the device and making it so it's safe for your patient and usable in the way it was intended.
So there's no need for frustration. There's some outlets that you can go to. You can certainly contact the companies, find the reps, like Marianne said, and cut to it and get right to what you need to for a medical device. It's very interesting and really a whole process. And as you said, there's a lot of people, human factors, a lot of very interesting jobs that you can look into within that field too, if you are really interested. And have some great ideas on how you can get products to market. And with that, we're out of time.
It's time
I
for the count. We really appreciate you being here. Thanks so much. Look for our other podcasts. We have all kinds of topics for you. We're looking forward to getting your feedback on those topics. Like, share, follow, comment. We really appreciate that as well. It helps us do better and bring you more relevant topics. Thanks so much. Take care. See you next time.
Bye bye.